Jesus. Okay, it's things on your side.
All right. Had a long weekend. It's pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, I completely missed that one. Was wondering why nobody was around yesterday. It's like, oh, public holiday.
Where are you based, Roger?
Belfast, Ireland.
Cool.
Yourself, Washington, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Nice.
DC, not the state.
Yes, sorry. Yeah. I'm guessing pretty cool this time of year.
Especially right now. I think it was like, it's -2 C out.
That's all.
Hey, John. Cold enough for me.
Hey, oh.
Hey. I just realized none of us made an agenda. And when I say none of us, me. Because I didn't make notes from last week. Because
none of you.
Yeah.
I did intend to yesterday, but intentions aren't really worth much. So,
can you prove it, Roger? Can you prove you had intentions yesterday?
No, I can't prove very much from yesterday.
Okay. Does anyone have anything they would like to add to an 100% ad hoc agenda today?
I have one item. I might have just been hallucinating, but we used to have specific guides for each of the versions of Tofu and/or Terraform for migration, if I remember correctly. I'm sure I saw these somewhere. It's more a question of if those existed at some point, do they still exist, or am I just completely making it up and I had a dream? A very sad dream, but
they did used to exist, and I nuked them. We used to maintain like different migrating from versions of Terraform to versions of OpenTofu, and it was a lot to maintain, and they were repeating themselves a lot. So I think we've replaced it with a generic migration guide of like upgrade to Terraform 1.5, I think we say, and then migrate to OpenTofu. And then someone actually has just added some extra stuff to this that will be coming in the next couple of days. About multiple project migrations.
And do we have a guide from like upgrading higher version to Terraform, like 1.8, 1.9 to OpenTofu? How to migrate, like if you already passed the open source version?
Yeah, that's the interesting one.
I don't even think we say. Now I'm looking at it. I don't even think we say go to Terraform 1.5. I think we just tell people a very generic run, backup all of your state files and run tofu plan and tofu in it.
Okay.
Just because it was becoming quite a lot to go and maintain. Like, if you are using Terraform actions, remove Terraform actions from your code. If you are using this feature, remove it or add it. And
I think the only stumbling block there potentially is ephemeral, because the state file format changed. But Tofu would fail pretty early on saying, I don't know what this is, or it wouldn't really understand the state file. Unfortunately, it's the same version. The version number wasn't incremented, but practically speaking, it would give fairly clear feedback saying, hey, there's stuff here that I don't understand, I believe.
So the actual use of ephemeral is the bit that changes the state file as opposed to the version upgrade?
Yeah, so ephemerals were something that was added to the state file, so you can take an older state and load it in something that understands ephemeral, but going back is a little bit weird. But practically speaking, most people who are migrating should be going to the latest OpenTofu version, especially if they're on later Terraform versions. So, yeah.
Cool. Why'd you ask, Roger? Were you trying to point someone to a migration guide, or?
It's just all of a sudden being the only thing people seem to be asking. Previously, they were quite happy with just it's a drop-in replacement. Let's see how your mileage fares. No complaints. And just recently, I don't know if it's the raft that folk have been talking to, but I've
Interesting.
been asking for very specific what features don't work, what bits of my code do I need to change.
We had like 3 requests like this over the past week. I'm like listening to Roger and like what, like we have exactly the same out of nowhere.
I'll go check on the Spacelift side, because if we're getting the same, then this is an indication that we need to do this. Are these all like people migrating to OpenTofu for the first time or asking for migration guides?
Their first encounter to OpenTofu, so it's a mix of people who are starting that migration process and people who are asking about it. So it's a mix.
Part of the reason we were happy to just drop the old like multi-version migration guide was that no one was asking for it, and if you looked at our migration guide stats, no one was looking at it. So okay, maybe we should rework some of this.
I also forgot that CAN ITF existed.
But it doesn't work
up until about 2 days ago. Yes,
it's dead now.
It's dead. I've reached out to Alejandro, who runs it, and said, "Is there anything we can do to help?" The DNS record is down for it.
Apparently, I've got a cached entry.
Yeah, same.
I've reached out to a virtual root, Alejandro, who runs it, and not had anything back yet. But just, I assume he's not paid his DNS bill or something like this.
If it's not something that they wish to continue paying for, is this gets into got a .tf name. Was this something that OpenTofu would be?
We were trying to make sure the community ran it, and that's why it was best Alejandro.
I'm remembering that conversation now.
Is there any sponsorship we could do to help keep it running in a way that's not a conflict of interest?
I can just send him like a Vaymo or whatever to pay for the domain. This domain name costs like $50.
Yeah, we can.
I mean, like if it's literally like just matter of paying for the domain name, I think it's very easy to solve this problem.
Yeah,
I know that the only like kind of like issue with TF domains is like you need to be like French or US citizen or something like some shit, but like it's a very workaroundable problem. And again, like just let's figure out like what the problem is, and then I'm pretty sure it can be fixed.
Yeah. I've already reached out to him and offered all of these things to solve it. If it's that he doesn't want to maintain the site, then it's all available on GitHub. Someone can fork it and run it somewhere else. It would be nice for a community member to do it, though, and not one of the OpenTofu gang. But I'm sure we can find someone. We can go sweet talk someone in the community. Hey, do you want to take this home? It's a shame because it's a nice resource of the differences between the two. Okay. If you guys continue to hear from people that you want more detailed migration guides, can you let the maintainers know? And maybe we can open an issue and discuss what we can scope.
Out of curiosity, how did you assess that nobody was hitting the pages?
Looking at the requests on Cloudflare of what was being hit. I think we were getting like 2 or 3 visits per week on that page.
The visits matter. Because these 2 people actually asked us, where is the guide?
I wonder, like, cached pages aren't showing up in Cloudflare or something in the metrics, and that's why it seems like somebody saw it once and then relies on it, and they don't know what to do anymore.
It definitely looked a lot lower than the rest. I can go and relook at it because I've got all the data in Datadog and Cloudflare, so we can.
In our case, the request came from like a very big company, and they looking to get off TFC. and they're already on like 1.9, I think, or 1.10 version of like Terraform, and they said like, hey, like we probably will need to migrate to OpenTofu, and like what the process is, we don't know like what features are being used, what's compatible, not compatible, and like for them it was pretty much heavy lifting, and they asked for some assistance. So like that's some context. And then we have like two similar ones, but they're all like more generic, like, hey, like what's the process of migrating from Terraform to OpenTofu, but without any versions, without anything, just like generic questions and support.
Yeah. For 99.9% of people, even if they're using the newer versions of Terraform, most people are not using actions, resource identities, and queries. They're just using resources and data sources, and migration is drop-in.
Yeah, this is what we usually like saying to people.
Yeah.
So far, we had only, I think, one case of like some errors, but I don't remember specifics. I'll need to dig this support ticket.
Okay. It's mostly a hearts and minds thing. So
yeah.
It's more like a risk assessment, not really like I'm not sure that it's even a technical problem. It's more like how these enterprises, they like planning this, like for them it's like a 6 months project with like different risk resources and planning and stuff, and like it's just like, hey, like what should we do if something will go wrong, or like this sort of thing.
Yeah, same. Even if it's easily automated, people still want to know what the pain is. So yeah.
I wonder what Claude or ChatGPT gives you if you just ask what the migration path is. I'm sure it would answer
all sorts of shit. we actually did, like, it's funny you asked, because we did this exercise with like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and Jesus, it was like all over the places. In one instance, like it will provide like a perfect perfect guide. In another instance, it will go and like suggest some nuts. It was like all over the places, and it's like really like configuration per configuration, and you need to try them both in all three, like, and randomly one of them will give you like a very good guide, and two others will just like fail miserably. So it's very inconsistent.
I wonder if that's part of the uplift in the questioning, because maybe our AI overlords are giving really bad advice.
So I don't know, like we just took like multiple like configuration versions, like multiple Terraform files, like different use cases, and they ask you the same questions, all three. Like, hey, like help me to migrate this, like, and some of them were like pretty straightforward, like, yeah, you just like no need to change anything. But some of them, like, you need to change this thing, which just doesn't make any sense, like none. So yeah, that was like it's a fun exercise.
So I recently saw that, and there's a reason I'm raising this. Anton Babenko raised like a Claude skill that he's put out there to talk about Terraform best practices. I wonder if the OpenTofu team, we could put out a Claude skill or just a markdown document that details everything in depth about migration and tell people that they can use AI and use this skill to help them migrate from Terraform to OpenTofu.
Wouldn't recommend like advertising that as like the primary solution, because
not as a primary solution, no, but just for people who want to use AI to migrate across, and then we include as much migration documentation as we can in there. And
one other thing in addition, like yes, and to that is you could also have Vercel recently updated their docs to have accept headers for Markdown content. So if you set the accept content type as Markdown, it'll return the page in Markdown format. And apparently that's better for LLMs. They can understand that and work with it better. So that's another thing to consider.
Interesting. I'll see if DocuSaurus has something similar.
We'll just say, I think for a lot of folks that we talk to that are like exploring the migration from Terraform to OpenTofu, the more handheld they can feel throughout the migration process, the better, even if they're not gaining any like useful like data. So if it's just like a drop down that goes like, oh, you're explicitly asking me what version of Terraform I'm on and giving me specific info, even though it's like for the most part irrelevant, it can make them feel like, hey, this is a comprehensive guide that's really exploring all the possibilities, even though it's more maintenance work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, definitely then this is a signal, if we're hearing it from multiple companies, that we should maybe revisit this and look at the scope. Cool. Oh, I had some news in this rough area that we are converging. I saw a PR title on the HashiCorp Terraform repository that they're adding support for deprecating variables and outputs. So they're starting to add features that we added first, which is quite nice. I'm
curious the format. I hope they will like do the same format instead of like just changing this slightly so it won't be incompatible.
I hope it's in the same format. Igor, maybe you can go and tell me. I can't go and read the PR.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Maybe you don't have to go tell me now. But
I'm curious.
I can't read the Terraform code, so I'm not going to go and read it, and I've not seen what they've done, but I saw they had a PR open about adding deprecated variable support.
Add deprecation marks to resources based on schema?
Let's not read out things, because that already is giving me a piece of information
that
I don't want to know.
Gotcha. Sorry.
I don't want to know it's done with marks. So, so anyway, maybe you could just tell me if the end user experience is the same or not, but we'll figure it out later.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay. Anything else for the ad hoc agenda, or are we okay to call it here?
I've got like one housekeeping thing that's not really related to TSC. So if folks are interested in hopping onto another call, I don't think I need to like take up airtime for this. It's like management of people.
We can finish the recording and wrap up.
Yeah, I did have just thinking about what we talked about in the maintainers retro an hour ago. And Jim, we can bring this up next week as well if that's easier. Thinking about, so we're trying to document internally and then publicly processes, procedures, so stuff doesn't get left behind, and then also so contributors understand better where they are in the process, where their ticket is, where their PR is, that sort of thing, who's looking at it. But one thing that came up as part of that is what exactly, where the delineation between maintainer decision and TSC decision lies. And this is not something we necessarily need to solve today. Maybe this is something we think about for the next 2 weeks and have a more in-depth discussion next time. It's something I think we all have a gut feeling as far as where that line lives. And this isn't coming from any particular incident, but it's better to have an understanding before there is an incident, I think. Originally, when I was the tech lead, there was one understanding. Now that it's maintainers and TSC and it's all publicly documented, and that way, it's gotten a little better. But I think the maintainers were just looking for a little bit of clarity on where exactly that line is, what those responsibilities are. We're examining our own processes, trying to figure out how we can be more efficient, work more asynchronously, and that just kind of gets tied into that conversation. James, did I miss anything?
I think you explained what we discussed, but I don't know what the action item is for the TSC members, and that's why I didn't bring it up now, because I wanted to write it down and talk about it in the agenda. I think we just need an explicit way to write down what the TSC wants to make decisions on and should make decisions on, which we've discussed in the past, right? But I think it's changed over time. Just so it's a little bit more explicit to maybe newer members of the OpenTofu maintainers who are unsure how to work with the TSC. So just documenting deprecation is a really good example. We were talking about deprecating some features and how historically we've talked to the TSC about it. And it would be nice just to have it written down saying that if we want to deprecate a feature, we should talk to the TSC about the process of how we do that. Or if we decide that the TSC doesn't care about the deprecation of features and you trust the maintainers, then we don't put that in there. But it's just about making it explicit. And I know it's tough to write a catch-all kind of document of what the TSC should and shouldn't handle. I don't think we can write an exhaustive list. But I think I wanted to mull it over for a couple of weeks and put it in the agenda for the next one so we can have a proposal. Yeah.
To be explicit, that sounds good. I think I need more time to think about that to provide useful feedback.
Sorry, Christian, to delay that. I know you maybe wanted to discuss it today.
No. I explicitly didn't. I didn't want to ambush anyone with it. This is the sort of thing that should be an agenda item, but I know that sometimes you and I get distracted when creating agendas and notes and stuff for previous meetings. So having just bringing it up is start thinking about this so that we can have a more in-depth discussion next time.
Yeah, we literally brought it up in a meeting with the maintainers 10 minutes before this one, so I've had 0 time to think about it. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's it. I think we can wrap up the call here. Yusuf, who did you want to keep behind after we end the recording? In fact, we can just end the recording now if everyone's okay.
Yeah.